All right, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak. Salam alaikum to all the beautiful brothers and sisters out there who are observing the Ramadan. Peace and power, elevation to everyone else. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today's topic, I want to talk about Rumi the Poet. Now, Rumi's name is very popular within the scientific field of study in philosophy, in psychology, even in religious studies. His name is very popular and he's very significant. So when we hear the name Rami, we think of the love poems that he written, right? We think of the quotes, and he wrote the most beautiful quotes ever. You know what I'm saying? And there's a channel on YouTube called Quotes. It's spelled Quotes. Quotes. It's spelled quotes. All right, you find all type of sayings, wise saying from various individuals that was authors, poets, teachers, philosophers, all the way down to scientists. I mean, whatever you want to find. All right. So Rami the poet is very popular in the philosophy community and science community and religious studies. And so you hear the name all the time. You constantly hear what his works and all of that. But who was he really? Okay. Do we really know enough about his biography? Do we know his background? Do we know why he's so significant? Well, I'm here today to share some information with you guys. And there's books that you guys can check out as well. So please make sure you just go ahead, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, share this channel, all that great stuff. And that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today I am on worldhistory.org. I'm not sure why this ad is up here. Okay, worldhistory.org, right? So this is the World History Encyclopedia. All right, and this is Rami. So his name was Jalil al-Din Muhammad Rami. Okay. And he was born in 1207 and he died 1273. He was a Persian Islamic theologian and scholar, but became famous as a mystical poet whose work focuses on the opportunity for a meaningful and elevated life through personal knowledge and love of God. He was a devout Sunni Muslim, and even though his poetry emphasizes a transcendence above religious strictures and dogma, it is grounded in an Islamic worldview. Rami's God is welcoming to all. However, no matter their professed faith and one desire to know and praise, this God is all that is required for living a spiritual life. Okay. He was born in Afghanistan or Tajikistan to well educated Persian speaking parents and followed in his father's profession as a Muslim cleric, establishing himself as a well respected scholar and theologian until he met the Sufi mystic Shams Tabriz. I can't say, I'll say Shams, okay. Anyways, he was born in 1185, 1248 CE. And so he met Shams in 1244 CE and embraced the mystical aspect of Islam. After Shams disappeared in 1248, Rami searched for him until he realized that Shams' spirit was with him always, even if the man himself was not present, and beginning composing verses which he claimed to receive from this mystical union. All right. So Rami's poetry is characterized by a deep understanding of the human condition, which recognizes the grief of loss as well as the ecstatic joy of love. The power of transcending love, whether for another person or God, is central to his work and conveyed through images, symbols, and stories drawn from Quran, Hadith, Persian mythology, life, and lore, as well as specific tableaus of daily life. All right. He composed his verse by spinning in circles, receiving the images he put into words, and dictating these to a scribe, thereby developing the Sufi practice of hurling dervish as a means of apprehending the divine. He is considered one of the greatest Persian poets of medieval era, as well as one of the most influential in world literature, and his work continued to be bestsellers in the present day. All right. So, um, my personal account on Rumi the Poet, I really admire his poems, his saying, because it's a daily meditation. It gets me through the day, it gets me through the night, and it's just something that I can look back on and say, well, wow, I feel empowered, I feel educated, I feel good. You know what I'm saying? So his whole poem is basically to understand human's condition and be able to deal with the philosophical aspect of what we go through as humans, and be able to write it in a sense where we can be able to read it, and just have something that will remind us that we are just spiritual beings going through human experiences, and this is what we're going to deal with, but we have to find a way to go about dealing with life obstacles and not let life take us down or take advantage of us. Peace, brother Omi. How you doing? All right. Shout out to the chat. Peace, brother Omi. Thank you for coming through. All right. So he was born in the city of Baal in modern day Afghanistan. It has been suggested that his birthplace was Vajul or Waji in Tajikistan, but Balk is more probable, as it is known that a large Persian speaking community flourished there in the early 13th century. And more significantly, one version of his name signified his birthplace of origin, Bakili. All right, so almost nothing is known of his mother, but his father, Bahundi Walad, was a Muslim theologian and jurist with an interest in Sufism. Sufi is the mystical approach to Islam, which rejects dogmatic strictures in favor of a personal, intimate relationship with God. Sufism is not a set of Islam, but a transcendent path of personal spiritual revelation based on Islamic understanding. Although many Orthodox Muslims of the time and still today reject Sufism as a heresy, the city of Bach encouraged its development and supported Sufi masters. How deeply Rumi's father immersed himself in Sufism is unknown, but Rumi was instructed in the mystic aspect of Sufism by one of his father's former student, which is Bahanuddin Mahaki, which laid the foundation for his later acceptance of this spiritual path. Okay, so as you can see, all right, so as you can see, this is a spiritual dance. Okay, this is the hurling diversions. So the hurling diversions is basically when they dance around, when the Sufis dance around, right, or when they spin around, it's their way of giving reverence to God. So it's their way of feeling closer to God, feel like they have a closer relationship with Him or with the Creator. So they do this hurling dance, and they constantly do it in counterclockwise, right? So it's a way to being able to um it's a way to being able to feel a connection with the Creator. That's all it is, and that's the purpose of it. Let's see, what else can I find on here. All right, so go further down. It says when the Mongols invaded the region 1215 CE, Rami's father gathered his family as well as his disciple and fled. On their travels, Rami is said to have met the Sufi poet Atta Nishapur, Atta Nishapur, who gave him one of his books, which would exert considerable influences on the young man. Rami's group does not seem to have an definite destination in mind at first, as they are said to have traveled through the region of modern day Iran, Iraq, and Arabia before settling in Konya, Anatolia, which is modern day Turkey. By this time, Rami had been married twice and had three sons and a daughter. His father died. Rami took over his position as sheikh of the religious school in the community and control and continued his father's practices in preaching and teaching, observing religious rites and practices, and ministering to the poor. All right. So his name Rami come from this period of Anatolia, was still referred to as province of Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire. It had been until 1176 CE when most of it was lost to the Muslim Turks. Someone who came from Antonia therefore was referred referenced as a Rumi, meaning a Roman. Okay. All right, so it talks a little bit about Shams I Tabrizi. Shams I Shams e Tabrizi was a Sufi mystic who worked as a basket weaver, traveling from town to town, engaging with others. But according to legend, finding no one he could fully connect with as friend and equal, he began to focus his travel on finding someone who, as he said, could endure my company. And one day, a embodiment voice answered his prayer, asking, "What will you give in return?" To which Shem answered, "My head." And the voice then replied, "The one you seek is Jaludin of Konya." Shams then traveled to Konya where he met Rami. All right, so this is where Rami met the mystic scholar named Shams. All right, so he met him and he got the teachings from him, and that's what really got him more intrigued and got him more started into Sufism. All right, so it says there are a number of different accounts of this meeting, but the one most often repeated is the story of meeting in the street and Shem's question to Rami. In this version, Rami was riding his donkey through the marketplace when Shem seized the bridle and asked who was greater, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the mystic Balazid Bastami. Rami instantly answered that Muhammad was greater. Shams responded, "If so, why is it that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to God, I do not know you as I should," while Bastami said, "Glory be to me," in asserting that he knew God so completely that God lived and shone from within him. Rami replied that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was still greater because he was always longing for a deeper relationship with God and acknowledged that no matter how long he lived, he would never know God completely. While Bastami embraced his mystical experience with the divine as a final truth and went no further. After saying this, Rami lost consciousness, falling from his donkey. Sean realized this was the man he was supposed to find, and when Rami awoke, the two embraced and became inseparable friends. Hmm. And so it goes on to say their relationship was so close that it strained Rami's established rapport with his students, family, and associate. And so after some time, Shams left Konya for Damascus, or according to other report, Koi in Azerbaijan. Rami had him return, however, and two resumed their former relationship, which took the form of mentor-mentee on one level, with Shams as the teacher, but primary as intellectual equals and friends. They were conversing one evening when Shem was called to the back door. He went out to answer, did not return, and never was seen again. According to one tradition, he was murdered by one of Rami's sons who had grown of the mystic, monopolizing his father's time and distancing Rami from his students. According to another, Shams chose that moment to depart from Rami's life, possibly for the same reasons. Either way, Rami needed his friend back and went to find him. Scholar Coleman Banks elaborates. It says the mystery of friends absent covered Rami's world. He himself went out searching for Shams and journeyed again to Damascus. It was there he realized, why should I seek? I am the same as he. His essence speaks through me. I have been looking for myself. The union was complete. Mm. So Rami understood there is no such thing as loss of a loved one because that person continues to live and speak and act through oneself. The depth of a close personal relationship cannot be diminished by the absence of the beloved because the beloved has become part of the self. Rami the theologian became Rami the mystic poet at this realization and began composing verses which he believed came from Shams. All right, so that's a statue of Rami. Okay, that's a statue of Rami in Turkey. Oops. All right then. So Rami the Poet. This is when he became Rami the Poet, right? He grieved at the loss of his friend, found expression in the poetic form of ghazal, which laments loss at the same time as it celebrated the experience being mourned. One would not be feeling such depth of loss, so a ghazal would say, if the experience had not been so beautiful, one should therefore be grateful for that experience, even as one mourns. Rami's early poetry was published as Divan Shams Tabrizi. A divan means a collection of an artist's short words, which Rami believed to have been composed by Sham's spirit dwelling in his own. He continued focusing his energy on poetic composition to express divine truth, which he felt most people overlooked. People lived from day to day without recognizing the underlying form of the divine in all they did. Rami asserted in his poetry was an attempt to both express this and show how one could bring divinity in all of one's daily activity, no matter how seemingly mundane, to infuse one's life with elevated meaning and purpose. Barthes comments. These poems are not monumental in the Western sense of memorialization or memorializing moments. They are not discrete entities, but a fluid, continuously self-revisiting, self-interrupting medium. They are not much about anything as spoken from within calling or within something, calling it enlightenment, ecstatic love, spirit, soul, truth, and the ocean of Elim, which is divine luminous wisdom or the covenant of Atlas, the original agreement with God. Names do not matter. Some resonance of ocean resides in everyone. Rami's poetry can be felt as a salt breeze from that traveling inland. All right. Rami drew on the entirety of his life, the lived experiences in the physical world, as well as the numinous glimpse of eternity to compose his verse, but the underlying and resonating power of all his poems was love. To Rami, love was the great elevator from the mundane to the sublime, from the horizontal experience of everyday life to the vertical ascent to God in all of one's daily activity, no matter how simple. His effort had been recognized in the creation of poetry, which continues to resonate around the world. All right. Then goes on to say Rami's works. So these are his works. He's his best known works are the Masnavi, the Davin Shem Tabrizi, and the Poe's works of discourse, letters, and seven sermons. The the Masnavi title refers to the form of the work. A Masnavi, known as the Maknawi in Arabic, is a Persian form of poetry comprised of rhyming couplets of indefinite length. All right. And so, also, although there is no doubt that Rumi drew on a sham spirit for inspiration, he was well educated in Arabic and Persian literature and folklore, especially inspired by earlier Persian poets such as Sinai and Atta of Nishabur. Sinai, who resigned his position as court poet to pursue the Sufi path, wrote the masterpiece, The Wild Garden of Truth, in which he explores the concept of the unity of existence, claiming that errors begins with duality. As soon as one distances oneself from others or God, one established as us versus them dichotomy, which leaves one isolated and frustrated. One must embrace the totality of existence, recognizing no distance between oneself, others, and God in order to understand the nature of existing and forge a personal relationship with the divine. Artificial division of religious dogma only serves to isolate, while acceptance of others' religious belief and practices enlarges one's own experience of God, in whom they are no division, only acceptance and unconditional love. Now that's powerful. Okay. All right. So also, let's go ahead and skip down. It says conclusion. So Rami expresses this concept in a number of poems, but clearly in his Love Dogs, in which a man continuously out to God until he is silent by a cynic who asks him to continue to pray when he gets no answer. The man stops praying and falls into a fitful sleep, in which Al-Qadir comes and asks him why he stopped his prayers. The man answered, because I've never heard anything back. And Al-Qajir answered, this longing you express is the return message. Rumi then speaks directly to the reader, saying, listen to the moan of a dog for its master. That whining is the connection. The human experience of longing for a relationship with the divine, according to Rumi, is the answer to one's prayer. One should then embrace that longing as love, replacing doubt and confusion with faith and the comfort of the beloved one has longed for. He said, Rumi continued. Uh-oh. Let me go back. Okay, it says Rumi continued to compose his Masnavi, which was never completed until his death, in 1273 CE. By this time, he was known as Malawi, also giving Mevlana, our master, for his spiritual wisdom, insight, and skills in composing verse. His death was mourned by the diverse community of Kenyola, Muslim, Jews, Christian, united in grief at his passing. And the entourage followed the poet's remains to where they were interred in the Sultan's rose garden beside Rumi's father's. The Sufi community Rumi had developed, the Mevlevi order, built a grand mausoleum of his grave in 1274 CE, which today is part of the Mevlana Museum of Konya, Turkey, a site visited by admirers from all over the world who still come to pay their respects to the master. All right. And so that's this article right here. Again, you can find out more information from World History Encyclopedia, and that's the story about Rami. Okay. All right. So let's get down to the books. So Rami has a lot of great poems, and like I said, when you guys listen to the quotes are full of wisdom. They're full of knowledge. They're just like daily meditation, daily affirmation. Okay, so his whole thing was to give affirmation to people, to give something people to be inspired by, not to bring about restriction or control mechanism, or to bring about religious dogma to people. But his whole thing was to bring some form of inspiration and affirmation. That's what his goal was. And that's exactly what he did. So Sufi mysticism really just brings the science and of brings the science of Islam. It brings about the connection to God, so you be able to see God as yourself, and you be able to understand God through yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's all about having that interpersonal relationship with God. Again, interpersonal relationship with God. That's what it's all about. All right. So now let's go to some of the books. Okay. So now this book right here, this first one is called The Life and Work. You guys can see that. It's called The Life and Work of Jalal ud-Din Rumi, which is written by Abdul Iqbal. Okay. So this is his life and work. Let's see, what can we find in this book? All right, so this is chapter 1. Okay. So let's see, according to chapter 1, right? It says age of Rumi. So Rumi was born on September 30th, 1207, and he died on December 17th, 1273. His life, therefore, covers almost the entire span of the 13th century. If we are to have some ideas of his contribution to life and thought, it is essential to start with a brief description and analysis of the condition prevailing at the time. No study of Rumi has so far taken this factor into consideration. And it is therefore all the more necessary to have a clear idea of his malu, right? All right, so, and it goes down to say that the 13th century of Christian era was the 17th century of Islam. The Islamic Commonwealth achieved its full political maturity within the first century of its entire geographical extent during the first 700 years of its existence. Rising from Mecca, it flashed into Syria. It traversed the whole breadth of northern Africa, and then leaping the straits of Gibraltar. It hammered at the doors of Europe. Islam conquered Sicily and reached as far as the Campania and Abruzzi in the south. Using Spain as a springboard, it jumped into Provence, northern Italy, and even to Switzerland. From its stronghold in Spain and Sicily, it transmitted its powerful cultural influence to the whole of Europe. In the 13th century, however, the social order of Islam no longer represented the best that it had to offer to the world. The passage of the century had beclouded the vision which once inspired the whole world. Elements of decay which had crept into the system continued to work unnoticed till it became clear that the grand structure represented by Islam in the 13th century was no longer a structure of steel. It was not yet a house of cards either, but but edifices was certainly tottering, and if the rock was not checked in time, the result could be disastrous. All right, so the reason leading to the decline of Islam can be understood best by a reference to causes of its success. Islam owed its spectacular success entirely to the teachings of the Quran and the life example of the Holy Prophet. The world of Islam flourished and progressed to an extent which was unparalleled in the annals of history. It produced a civilization at once refined and progressive at the a time when Europe was sunk in superstitious stagnation and reaction. It will be no exaggeration to say that the West owed its regeneration considerably to the intellectual energy released by the dynamo that was Islam. This period of regeneration is rightly referred to by the West as Renaissance, which means rebirth, for so it was indeed for the stagnant civilization of Europe. All right, and then it says these achievements were possible only because of the teaching of the Quran and the life example of the Holy Prophet. They were possible as long as Muslims were ready and eager to surrender themselves to the commandments of their faith. They became difficult and impossible to a degree corresponding with the Muslim unreadiness to allow their lives to be conditioned and modeled on the tenets of the Quran and the Surah. While the pioneers of Islam found no sacrifice too great to observe and enforce the laws of the Quran, their successors, on whom fell the duty of preserving their legacy, proved unequal to the task, for they had learnt to place their own comfort before the demands of the fundamentals of their faith. Okay. They accepted what was convenient and rejected what appeared to be inconvenient. While paying lip service to the Quran, they refused to pay it the homage of their action without which Islam become a mockery. Instead of accepting the Quran as an unchallenged guide to life and all its manifold aspect, the Muslim relegated to the status of a treatise on dogmas. No wonder, therefore, that the active vigor and utility of the system was neutralized. The Sunnah in the 13th century had become for the Sufi and ideogram of mere Platonic importance, for the theologian and the religious a mere system of laws, and for the Muslims masses nothing but a hollow shell without any living meaning. The intellectuals slow to understand the limitation of their own intellect had gone all out for scholasticism, a subtle position or a subtle poison which had by this time eaten deep into the muscle and sinews of the Muslim body's polity. It had snapped the courage of millions of men. It had gnawed at the roots of faith and had demonstrably weakened the fabric of Islam. We are not concerned with an analysis of the many and varied causes which led this decay and degeneration. It is enough for our purpose to record that Islam in the 13th century was a tottering edifice. It had weathered many a storm during the 7th century of its life, but it had now reached a stage when its inner vitality had been slowly snapped, and once powerful blast might well have uprooted it from the soil on which it was leading a precarious existence. All right, so now let's talk about that just for a little bit. I get what that passage is saying, because after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, right? There was chaos amongst the Shia and the Sunni community, because the Shia and the Sunni were like under one Islamic branch, okay, when the Prophet Muhammad was around. But when he passed on, they split up. So you had the Sunni version of Islam and you had the Shia version of Islam, but they were in conflict with each other because there were some disagreements. So the Shia, their thought was, all right, there's got to be another prophet after him. He can't be the only last prophet. You know what I'm saying? There got to be another prophet. And the Sunnis say, no, there is no other prophet. He's the last prophet. He's the seal of the prophet. Now, what you have is caliphs, you know what I'm saying, or leaders that comes after him, you know, that's it, which is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's cousin Ali and his son-in-law, okay, because his son-in-law was married to his daughter Fatima, radiallahu anha. So Ali radiallahu anhu, right, became the caliph after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had passed. And also you had Bilal, which he was one of the slaves, right, that became a caliph as well. So So yeah, that was a division amongst the Sunni and the Shiites, and they end up splitting up with each other. So it's like the concept of Islam started to decline, and then when it started declining, it created different set of Islam. So and then within those Sunni sects, you got different set of Sunni Islam, and then the Shiites got their own different set of different Shia. But then the Sufi Islam, it doesn't look at, okay, we represent Sunni Islamic doctrine or Shia Islamic doctrine. They just say we represent the mysticism of Islam. We represent the science of Islam, period. We don't care if you're a Sunni. We don't care if you're a Shia. You know what I'm saying? We just look at the mysticism. That's all. That's the most important aspect of it. Okay, so, but if you guys want to check this book out, The Life and Work of Jalal ud Din Rumi. Check this book out. And that's the name of the author right here. Got him highlighted. Afzal Iqbal. Afzal Iqbal. Life and Work of Jalal ud Din Rumi. Okay. So now let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Um, this one here is the selected poems. Okay. So these are the selected poems of Rumi. Okay, and that's a picture of him. Somebody put Fana and Baka. Peace, brother TK. How you doing? Peace, 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 peace be unto you. Peace. All right, so this is Rumi selected poems. Somebody put Tabrizi taught Rumi and got killed. Okay, now that I just got done reading that, so there was an account saying that he did get killed, and some accounts saying that he just disappeared. So maybe that was an assumption that he probably committed suicide. Who knows? But um, but I did read somewhere that he was killed, or he just disappeared and nobody knows where he went. So yeah. But he probably did get killed because, at that time period, you couldn't go around teaching mysticism about Islam because there was under Islamic, because under Islamic doctrine at that time period, under the strict religion ideology, mysticism wasn't allowed. It was basically, where you had to, and I'm gonna get to the book for a moment. So it was basically where, okay, Islam was supposed to be based on the Quran and the Hadith, or just the Quran alone. You know what I mean? You don't have no mystic interpretation or none of that, right? So it could be a possibility that he got killed for teaching Rami about the mystic part of the tradition of the culture and not teaching him the Holy Quran. You know what I mean? Because those radical Muslims at that time, they felt like, oh, if you rejected the Quran, then you become the enemy. So he appeared again in a dream after Rami falls in a state for search. Yeah, so Rami discovered that, why look for somebody that you lost when you can be able to tap within yourself, look in, be able to connect with that divine force within. So in other words, he learned how to honor his friend in memory just by continuing the work that he's been taught, he was educated upon. All right, then I would have to put that book on the bucket list, so I have to look for that book. Shams and Me by Coleman Barks is a good book in their relationship. Okay, I would have to look for that book. I would have to put that on the bucket list. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get into it. So as you can see, this is Rumi selected poems. All right. Okay, so that's a picture of him. Rumi selected poems. So let's just look at some of his poems that he has written. This one's called Be Lost in the Call. Lord said to David, since you do not need us, why did you create these two worlds? Reality replied, O prisoner of time, I was a secret treasure of kindness and generosity, and I wish this treasure to be known. And so I create a mirror. Its shining face, the heart, is darkened back the world. The back would please you if you never seen the face. Has anyone ever produced a mirror out of mud and straw, yet clean away the mud and straw, and a mirror might be revealed until the juice ferments a while in the cask? It isn't wine. If you wish your heart to be bright, you must do a little work. My king addressed the soul of my flesh. You return just as you left. Where are the traces of my gift? We know that the alchemy transformed copper into gold. This son doesn't want a crown or robe from God's grace. He is a hat to 100 bald men, a cover for 10 who were naked. Jesus sat humbly on the back of an ass, my child. How could a Zavir ride an ass? Spirit, find your way in seeking lowliness like a stream. Reason thread the path of selflessness into eternity. Remember God so much that you are forgotten. Let the caller and the call disappear. Be lost in the call. No, you good. You good, brother. You good. You good. You good. I mean, it's okay. Always share information because you might can be able to help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You might can be able to give me something that I have never discovered. So I'm not. I don't feel no issue. I don't have no issue with that. You can go ahead and share more information. If you got something that you want to share in the chat, you can do so. Share the titles of the book or something, and I can look it up. It's all good. Or if you can't share it in the chat, you can share it in my inbox. Whatever. It's good. All right. So it says, "Oh, you who've gone on pilgrimage." This is the next poem. Oh, you who have gone on pilgrimage, where are you? Where? Here is the beloved. Come on now, come on, come on. Your friend, he is your neighbor. He is next to your wall. You erring in the desert. What air of love is this? If you see this beloved form without any form, you are the house, the master. You are the Kaaba. Where is a bunch of roses if you would be this garden? Where one soul's pearly essence when you're the sea of God? That's true. And yet your troubles may turn to treasures rich. How sad that you yourself veil the treasure that is yours. All right. It says, oh, if a tree could wander. If a tree could wander and move with foot and wings, it would not suffer the ass's blows and not the pain of Saul's. For would the sun not wander away in every night? How could at every morning the world be lighted up? And if the ocean water would not rise to the sky, how would the plants be quickened by streams and gentle rain? The drop that left its homeland, the sea, and then returned, it found an oyster waiting and grew into a pearl. Did Yusuf not his father in grief and tears and despair? Did he not by such a journey gain kingdom and fortune wide? Did not the prophet travel too far Medina, friend? And there he found a new kingdom and ruled 100 lands. You lack a foot to travel, then journey into yourself. Like a mine of rubies, receive the sunbeams, print out of yourself. Such a journey will lead you to yourself. It leads to transformation of dust into pure gold. Wow. So, and this is the last poem. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come yet again, come. Those are the most beautiful poems ever. I strongly recommend this book. It's called Rumi Selected Poems. Okay. I recommend this book to anyone. And I will be sure to post it up too. Okay. Now this one is called The Sufi Path of Love, the Spiritual Teaching of Rumi, William C. Chettick. Okay. And this came out in 1983 by. Okay, let's see. Let's see where we're going to get started at. I don't think I need to go into the introduction, but it basically give accounts on his life, etc. Let me scroll on down. All right, so it said Hafiz has dope poems. Chitek is the baseline for the Sufis in the U.S. as far as research. Well, give me the name of the work of Hafiz, and like I said, I would check into it. Just give me the name of it. Give me the list of poems or books that this person has written, so I can look for it. Okay, so the one that I'm looking at. Okay, yeah. Okay, the Sufi path. Yeah. Okay. Persian lyric poet Hafez grew up in Shiraz. Oh, okay. Okay, well, like I said, I would have to look into him. I would look into Hafez later. I would have to look into that information. Wow, that's interesting. That's great. That's great info right there. Yeah, Chitek has a lot of great work. I mean, he does well talking about Sufism. I came across his videos on YouTube, so when I get a chance to, I'm gonna watch some of his videos on there as well. He talks a lot about Sufism. All right, so that's a bet. That's a bet. Cool. All right, so let's get into the part about seeing things as they are. All right, so number one says form and meaning. Rami has nothing but pity and disdain for those who look at the world around and within themselves and do not understand that what they are seeing is a veil over reality. The world is a dream, a prison, a trap, foam thrown up from the ocean, dust kicked up by a passing horse, but it is not what it appears to be. If everything that appears to us were just as it appears, the prophet who was endowed with such penetrating vision, both illuminating, would never have cried out, "Oh Lord, show us things as they are." All right, so Rami draw a fundamental distinction between form and meaning. Form is a thing, outward appearance. Meaning is inward and unseen reality. Ultimately, meaning is that thing as it is known to God himself. And since God is beyond any sort of multiplicity, in the last analysis, the meaning of all things is God. Form is shadow, meaning the sun. And it says, in the face of meaning, what is formed very contestable or contentable. The meaning of the heavens keep them in place. The meaning of the wind makes it wander like a mill wheel captive to water of the stream. Damn. Know that the outward form passes away, but the world of meaning remains forever. How long will you make love with the shape of the jug? Leave aside the jug shape, go seek water. Having seen the form, you are unaware of the meaning. If you are wise, pick out the pearl from the shell. It says the world then is formed of a collection of a myriad forms, but its very nature, each form display its own meaning, which is its reality with God. It is man's task not to be deceived by the form. He must understand that form does not exist for its own sake, but manifests a meaning above a beyond itself. Okay. Forms are the oil, meaning the light. Otherwise, you would not keep asking why. If form is for the sake of the form itself, then why ask why? So wisdom cannot allow that the outward forms of the heavens and the inhabitants of the earth should exist for this only. Pass beyond form, escape from names, flee titles and names towards meaning. The prophet said, behold the form of the heavens and the earth, and do this form draw benefit from their universal meaning. For you see the changes walk by the will of heaven, the rains of the clouds in season, summer and winter, and the changes of time. You see that everything is in its place and in accordance with wisdom. After all, how does this inanimate cloud know that it must send down rain in season? You see the earth, how it nurtures plants and makes one into 10. Well, someone does this. See him by means of this world and take replenishment from him, thus as you take replenishment from the meaning of the human reality through the body, take replenishment from the meaning of the world through the world's form. Mm. Again, that's a good book. So this is a good book right here. I recommend The Sufi Path of Love, the spiritual teaching of Rumi. So if you guys get a chance to check out this book, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it quick. This is the last book right here that I have, which is called The Mystical Poems of Rumi. All right. So The Mystical Poems of Rumi by A.J. Aberry. Okay. All right. So here is chapter 1. It says, what excuses have you to offer my heart for so many shortcomings, such constancy on the part of the beloved, such unfaithfulness of your own, so much generosity on his side, on yours such niggling what's it contrivances, so many graces from him, so many faults committed by you, such envy, such evil imaginings and or imagings and dark thoughts in your heart, such drawing, such tasting, such munificence by him. Why all this tasting, that your bitter soul may become sweet? Why all this drawing, that you may join the company of the saints? You are the repentant of your sins. You have the same name of God on your lips. In that moment, he draws you on so that he may deliver you alive. You are fearful at last of your wrongdoings. You seek deeper, desperately a way to salvation. In that instant, why do you not see by your side him who is putting such fear into your heart? And that's deep. And then it goes on to say, if he has bound up your eyes, you are like a pebble in his hand. Now he rolls you along like this. Now he tosses you in the air. Now he implants in your nature a passion for silver and gold and women, and now he implants in your soul the light of the form of Mustafa. On this side, drawing you towards the lovely ones. On that side, drawing you to the unlovely. Amid this whirlpools, the ship can only pass through or founder. It says, offer of so many prayers weeps so sorely in the night season that the echo may reach your ears from the spheres of the seven heavens. When Sheab, groaning and lamentation and tears like hailstones passed beyond all bounds in the morning of a proclamation came to him from heaven. If you are a sinner, I have forgiven you and granted you pardon for your sins. It is paradise you seek. Lo, I have given it to you. Be silent. Seize these petition. Peace, peace, Vinyasa. How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Peace, Vinyasa. And it says, Suab retorted, I seek neither this nor that. What I desire is to see God face to face, though the seven seas all turn to fire. I will plunge therein if only I may encounter him. But if I am banished from that spectacle, if my tear stained eye are shut against that vision, I am more fit to dwell in hellfire. Paradise becomes not me. Without his countenance, paradise for me is hateful hell. I am consumed by this hue and scent of morality. Where is this splendor of the lights of immorality? They say, at least moderate your weeping, lest your sight be diminished, for the eyes become blind when weeping passes beyond bounds. He say, if my two eyes in the end should be seeing after that fashion, every part of me will become an eye. Why then should I grieve over blindness? But if in the end this eye of mine should be deprived forever, let that sight indeed become blind, which is unworthy to behold the beloved. All right. Then it go on to say, in this world, every man should become a ransom for his beloved. One man's beloved is a bag of blood, another's the sun in splendor. Since every man has chosen a beloved, good or bad, as suit his own nature, it would be pity if we should annihilate ourselves for the sake of nothing. One traveler was accompanying Baz Yazid on a certain road. Presently, Baz Yazid said to him, what trade you have chosen, you rule? The man replied, I am an ass driver. Ba Yazid exclaimed, be gone from me. Lord granted that his ass may die, that he may become the slave of God. All right, so yeah, these are some interesting poems. Again, this the mystical poem of Rumi. So you guys check that out. Make sure you look it up. All right. All right. So that is it for today. For those of you that's just coming in, thank you for coming through. You guys just watched the video from the very beginning. I was going into the subject about Rumi the Poet. Again, he's one of the most iconic poets of all time. He's well spoken in the academic field of study, especially in philosophy, religion studies, Islamic studies. Like a lot, he's very revered. Like a lot of people really admire his work. And I'm one of those people that admire his work. I like his poem. There's a channel I'm actually listening to right now. as we speak. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull this channel up for you guys. Okay. So I'm gonna show you guys the name of this channel. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna type it in the comment section. All right, so okay, that's the name of this YouTube channel. It's called Quotes, and I would suggest that you guys check it out when you get a chance to. Okay, so you can check out the playlist, and they got playlists from psychology, science, art, writers, love, wise quote, proverbs, politics, philosophy, and women. Okay. Okay, so I would strongly recommend you guys check this channel out on YouTube when you get a chance to. Okay. Anyways, that's all I have. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Ramadan for those of you that are fasting. Enjoy your day at work for those of you that are at work. If you're at home chilling with your family, enjoy your family. Enjoy your day with your family. And you got to go work later on, like myself. Do that. Handle your business. So y'all be safe and be careful. And again, Ramadan Mubarak to all the Muslim brothers and sisters out there. Peace and power elevation to everybody else. And this your girl Tiffany. I'm logging off saying deuces, and I will come back later with another video on the subject about the Muslims and Islam. So I will keep you guys posted, okay? All right. Thank y'all so much for coming through. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, share my channel, all that great stuff. And we shall meet again. Peace and power.